In this video, we're going to walk through how to create a baseline scenario for John and Sally Smith in scenario analysis. So in scenario analysis, we have already uploaded the tax return for John and Sally Smith. And so when we hop into this tool, scenario one will already be built for them based on the 1040 that's read in for the client. So all this information is pulled directly from the 1040. We're not able to edit it, so it's ready for us to model off of. Within scenario analysis, we always want to start with creating a baseline scenario for our client. Doesn't matter what kind of planning we're doing for them. We want to say, what does 2025 look like for this client? And then from there, we can model out their projections. So the first thing we're going to do is add a scenario. And we're going to copy from scenario one. It's going to make things a lot easier for us in the long run. And we know that year to year, things are going to look pretty similar. There's a chance you'll get this calculation override notice. And this is telling us two things as the user. One, it's telling us that these numbers, our taxable IRA distributions and our gross Social Security, are currently combined for the client. It's saying that together, John and Sally have got 50 grand in distributions, and together we've got about 57 grand in Social Security. What it wants us to do is go in and separate these numbers out and define who they belong to. The second part is that it's telling you that these are two numbers that could be subject to change depending on the year that we're modeling for. So it wants to give us a little yellow flag saying, hey, you might want to come back and look at this. So as we're editing, I'll come back to these, but for now, I'll go ahead and close it. The first thing we want to do is change our tax year title. So we're going to say tax year 2025, and I like to call it a baseline. Now, just by changing the title, that is not going to actually change the year of our scenario. So we want to hop into the year and change this to 2025. Now, this will make adjustments for the year that we've modeled for based on what the IRS has already released about that year. So we've already worked in the one big beautiful bill to 2025, and we're ready to continue to create our baseline. Now, this is where you could go in and say, has their filing status changed? Do we want to show them any differences here between married filing jointly and married filing separate? Has someone turned 65 in the last couple of years? We could change that here. Another thing we want to look at is income, right? Have our wages changed? Have we gotten a raise? In this case for John and Sally, everything is basically going to stay the same for them, except for those two things that popped up in the calculation override, those IRA distributions and the gross Social Security. So IRA distributions, we're going to hop in here. Their distributions are going to remain the same, but this is where it wants us to separate that number to differentiate how much is John and how much is Sally. So we're going to take out that 50 grand. And say 25 of that is John and 25 of that is Sally. And we're going to go ahead and close. You'll see here our number did not change. We just gave the system a little more information to work with. We're going to do the same thing here for our gross Social Security. But this is the case where not only are we going to separate that number out, but we're also going to change it. So this number can be impacted by COLA, cost of living adjustment. And so we can Google this for our client and see, it's going to go up by a certain percentage this year. I've done the math on my end, and I know it's going to go up $2,000 for them. So instead of $57,000, it's going to be $59,000. So what we'll do is split that down between the couple, hit close, and that's an example where we would have jumped from that 57 to the 59. Now for John and Sally, everything else basically remains the same, and so we're good to go ahead and build out their projected scenario. But again, this is based on your client, and there might be a little more work for you to do in order to make this ready for a new projection.